Is Davis Mills someone that will be the starter for the entirety of this coming season and show enough potential to be the starting quarterback the year afterwards? Are the Texans going to draft a guy too? So there's definitely a lot of questions here. I think that it's important to start off this conversation with the situation that is probably the most dire, and it's the one in Tennessee. You know, the Titans had the 1 seed, and their quarterback threw 3 interceptions in their home playoff game. So you can understand why John Robinson, the general manager of the Tennessee Titans, Vanessa, actually cried yesterday. He cried. Seriously, we're not kidding. Here is John Robinson crying.
The trust that
What?
ownership has put in me, our fans, and I mean, that stadium was rocking now. And you can only imagine what it would have been like. The next week. So,
I love this.
Pretty long list of stuff that I got to be better at.
I feel like here, Vanessa, I don't know how many people out there watch South Park, but there's an episode where someone crosses Cartman, the short little fat kid, and Cartman responds by getting his parents killed and eating them in a chili afterwards, and then licking his tears as he cried about it at the end. and I kind of feel like Eric Cartman right now, where I'm just loving the tears that are coming out of the Titans organization. Because I know that they're stuck with Ryan Tannehill. But it made me think about this really quickly. I don't know how many people have watched the movie Varsity Blues, Vanessa. At the very end of the movie, this is what John Robinson is.
Billy Bob cried because he's a bit of a crier.
Like, Robinson's a crier. Now, maybe those are authentic tears. Maybe those are hard-o tears. Do you think that those are real tears?
I think there's something else going on, whether that's he thinks his job is on the line, whether that's he knows something about Tannehill maybe not being right health-wise. I don't know. But he's not just crying at 11 a.m. in Indianapolis, Indiana at the NFL Combine. Like, there's something else going on. Marital issues with him and his wife. I don't know. Maybe he was out drinking the night before, but there's something else.
You would think that would happen if you're out drinking though while you're drinking, you know? And I'll admit it,
that's true.
I'm a very emotional person. I cried while watching the movie.
Oh, we have to drink together.
Well, you should. I cry during movies often. Now, when I'm out drinking from time to time, I'm told that I get pouty as well if I've had too many. Like, there's a certain line where I'm happy, hyper happy, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Paul, my life sucks. I host a sports talk show. Why doesn't anyone like me? Like, I do get it. Like,
it's a very flattering impression of yourself.
No, it's pretty accurate. I mean, I know it happens all the time. Those are my 2 problems. I'm either too loud or, from time to time, a little too mopey with a little sauce. But that was weird. And I get why, though, Vanessa, to go back to the conversation we started off with. They have the worst situation right now because that is a really good team defensively, offensively, and the one thing holding it back is that Tannehill is not special. Is he bad? No. But he, especially without Arthur Smith, threw a lot more interceptions than he had in the 2 years before, where it looked like it was the Tannehill renaissance. He is the clear obstacle that is going to keep Tennessee from being in the same conversation as the Kansas City Chiefs with Mahomes or the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, and now the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, the AFC South, we're talking about the quarterbacks in the AFC South. Yeah, definitely interesting that he got so emotional yesterday.
Yeah.
The other team in the AFC South recently that we were talking about was the Indianapolis Colts. And here's the thing. We don't even at this point, I think, and I respect the reporters in Indianapolis because I know all of them when they say sources say Carson Wentz won't be back, etc. I don't really think we have to question that based on the media availabilities, not only Jim Irsay's videos, but the media availabilities of Frank Reich and Chris Ballard, because these are 2 guys that have always said, Wentz is our quarterback. Wentz is our quarterback. We believe in Wentz. When Wentz had a bad game, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich were very quick to point out the good things that he had done, the win over Arizona as opposed to the loss in Jacksonville. So the changing of tone to me indicates everything that we need to know on whether or not Carson Wentz will be back. This is what Chris Ballard said yesterday about the situation with the Colts quarterback.
I don't know. We're still working through it. And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about Carson right now. And I don't have a direct answer for you. We're working through it. Jim, Mr. Irsay, and Frank and I will sit down over the next 10 days and figure out where it's going. But ultimately, we'll do what's best for the team, for the Colts, both in the short term and in the long term. I'm not saying we don't.
I'm going to make it continue, Vanessa.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think that tells you everything you need to know about Carson Wentz's status, because remember, he's super close with Frank Reich. Frank Reich really stuck his neck out to bring him here, and Frank Reich said that verbatim. I stuck my neck out to bring him here. So in my opinion, he's gone, and so there will be some movement there, I think.
I'd rather have Wentz than Tannehill, though. And I'm going to make a devil's advocate argument for Carson Wentz. And Vanessa, you saw a lot more of it, because I know you, in addition to watching, the Texans, you've been watching the Colts.
Yeah.
Look at the wide receivers that he had last year that were not named Michael Pittman Jr., who was your only 1,000-yard receiver. T.Y. Hilton was banged up for a good portion of the year. He only played in 10 games. And T.Y. Hilton, we all know, is like a Texans murderer. He just kills them every single game. Like, he has, I think in 20 career games, he's got almost like 2,000 yards receiving against the Texans.
It's actually insane.
It's crazy. I mean, he's one of the most terrifying, like, random Houston destroyers that I think we've ever seen. Right. And it's not like he's a bad player. Like, T.Y. Hilton's a very good wide receiver. I don't know if I'm, going to say Hall of Famer or anything like that, but very, very good wide receiver in his time. But, okay, after Michael Pittman Jr., Zach Pascal is their second leading receiver in terms of yards. And Jonathan Taylor, with 40 receptions, tied with Nyheim Hines, also with 40 receptions. Those two guys are tied as your second leading receivers. Two running backs. So that could be a lot on Wentz, but I also just wonder about the supporting cast that's around Carson Wentz. Like, I think Michael Pittman Jr. is more of a number 2 wide receiver. I wonder if Indianapolis looks at themselves in the mirror and says, what's more likely, that we can get a quarterback in this year's draft or in free agency, or maybe we roll it for one more season with Wentz when it does seem like they're all out on him and try to get him another wide receiver to throw to. They clearly have an awesome running game with Jonathan Taylor, and I do like Nyheim Hines a lot as a, gadget running back, but I do think Wentz could, or whoever's under center for Indianapolis, needs a little bit of help there.
I do, but I think they have a mostly complete team. They have a spectacular defense. Maybe they can trade and get something for him, because I do agree with you on this. I think Carson Wentz can play in the NFL. Like, he didn't have a great year and maybe live up to expectations, but I do think that he will belong in a system somewhere.